So, as you've heard, there are some amazing people that help put projects like this together. And so, without further ado, let's welcome out our first speaker, Daniel Parsons, who's introducing a new style in ASD therapy.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your time. My research study was a 6-week intervention for young adults with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. And I'd like to briefly show you a quote from one of the participants. I think. And now I'd like you to guess what sort of intervention could possibly have such a meaningful impact on an individual's life. Well, what if I were to tell you it was this? Surf therapy. Now you might be wondering, what on earth is surf therapy? Is that even safe? Well, there is a curriculum design and methodology to any effective surf therapy program. And I'm more than excited to tell you all about mine and how it facilitated success for each of my participants. But before I do that, let's talk a little bit about autism. It's something that can have an impact on the way an individual perceives, processes, and interacts with the world around them. It's a group of neurodevelopmental disorders characterized by deficits in both verbal and nonverbal communication and social interaction, as well as impairments to motor function and sensory processing. And while there is no cure for ASD, one powerful influencing factor has been established in literature to have a positive effect on several of the associated deficits, and that's self-determination. If I can put it simply, it's being in control of the major decisions that affect your quality of life and shape your future. And according to numerous federal policies, it's a fundamental human right. About a year and a half ago, when I dove into literature to establish my research study, I was so intrigued by the self-determination movement and its relevance in the discussion of autism. But I was equally concerned that young adults with ASD typically exhibit low measurements of self-determined behavior, which lead to their decreased rates of employment, decreased rates of independent living, leading to the oversaturation of social services, the physically inactive, sedentary, socially isolated lifestyles that are also predominant, contributing to increased rates of obesity, cardiac disease, insulin-resistant syndrome, depressive and anxiety-related disorders, which significantly impedes their forward progress into independent adulthood and integration into the mainstreams of society. So breaking this pattern of sedentary lifestyles is a worthwhile and necessary pursuit. So let's get off the couch then and into the water, because surf therapy incorporates the fundamental skills of self-determination all within a physically challenging and socially stimulating environment. With that understanding, the purpose of my mixed methods research study was to evaluate the effects of a 6-week surf therapy program on self-determination and quality of life in young adults with ASD. Measurements of self-determination and quality of life were taken using valid and reliable instruments before, directly following, and 6 weeks following the program. In addition, qualitative data was collected as well via photo voice, which is a unique and kind of exciting participant-focused research method that uses photographs as an alternative form of communication and self-expression, and to facilitate meaningful discussion about the perspectives and needs of individuals among marginalized populations. The surf therapy program featured a rich social component, and perhaps the most valuable aspect of this were the naturally occurring, unstructured opportunities for the participants to really build meaningful relationships and exercise social reciprocity. Social reciprocity being the natural back and forth flow of conversation involving both verbal and nonverbal cues. And it's an absolutely necessary component of effective communication and overall social competence. It's something that we all rely upon every single day of our lives. And it's also an area in which young adults with ASD characteristically struggle, leading to many of the social skill deficits. And I think with that understanding, it was so exciting for me throughout this 6-week process to see the participants really forming these real relationships, learning a sport that I love and believe in to do powerful things. The process of learning to surf challenges your balance or proprioception, body awareness, your ability to assess previous motor outcomes and action plans and make changes accordingly, quickly, effectively, autonomously, and goal-directed. The participants also had to identify strategies and utilize them to enter and exit the ocean and navigate the field while in it. So all of this stuff really challenged their overall physical fitness and motor coordination, of course, but also their executive function and several fundamental skills of self-determined behavior, being the primary causal agent. It also featured a very unique physical exercise component. And as we know, physical activity being critically important for young adults with ASD. Not only does it combat the effects of sedentary lifestyle, but it also, in literature, is associated with notable improvements to the sensory and social deficits that are often experienced. Prior to the start of the program, all 15 participants voiced nervousness, fear, and a lack of self-confidence to be successful with something new and rather challenging. Nevertheless, all 15 completed the program from start to finish. Met by uncertainty, they chose perseverance. In a state of vulnerability, they chose resilience. And I think that's something that all of us here this afternoon can relate to. We've experienced it before, and we're going to experience it again. In our navigation of life, we're sure to encounter obstacles that look and feel insurmountable. Now, this is just a snapshot, folks, of my research study. But I think if we look at it, we can see achievement, we can see accomplishment, new horizons. And if we take all of that in concert with everything that's been established in literature about self-determination and physical activity, then perhaps it's not surprising that statistically significant improvements to both variables were seen following the program. And of course, this is intriguing, as these are critically important to the overall human experience for all people. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of all of this, or the most powerful interpreter of all this, were the voices of the participant. The qualitative piece. We all got together after the 6-week intervention and had a 2-hour focus group during which participants could choose their photographs that most accurately reflected their experience of surf therapy. It turned into a rich and insightful discussion, not only about their experience of surf therapy and how it impacted their lives, but also about their perspectives of themselves as young adults with ASD navigating this oftentimes strange period of their lives. The discussion was voice recorded, transcribed verbatim, coded, and thematically analyzed for months and months and months. And after that whole process, which was a pleasure, 3 themes of common experience emerged from the transcript. And those were socialization and community, surf therapy as an empowering and uplifting experience, and interestingly, changing perspectives of physical activity, which is interesting because, as we know, young adults with ASD in literature are associated with sedentary lifestyles with negative perceptions of physical activity, leading them down a road that is not so advantageous. Well, these folks participated in a form of physical activity that was so fun that their perspectives towards it began to change. And I think if we can change perspectives, then we can talk about changing lives. The American Disability Act clearly states that disability is a natural part of the human experience and in no way diminishes the right of the individual to be self-determined and experience full inclusion and integration into the mainstreams of society. And I think if we can identify cost-effective services that promote all of that, then we're not only contributing to the betterment or the growth and development of the individual, but also the betterment of society. So, let's go all in on surf therapy. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. That was very well presented. One question I'm allowed to ask of you.
Yeah.
And that would be, what 2 research questions are you left with as a follow-up to the study you just completed?
Thank you for your question. It's a great one. And I hope that I can answer it accurately. I think that one thing that has occurred to me writing this thesis and kind of finishing up is maybe perhaps the effects of services similar to these on other variables that are also important and relevant in the discussion of autism, which is, of course, overall gross motor functioning and physical fitness variables, if that answers your question. Yeah.
Amazing. Good job. Thank you so much, Daniel. Surf therapy definitely seems like an amazing innovation within ASD therapy.